Hello there. My name is Michael Scott Forehand. Today is the 26th of November, 2024, and we're here at the monthly training teaching class for the Debt Free Life program. Today we've got a number of broker underwriters here that I see, which is nice to see all of you. I've got some clients here as well, and we've got with us Mark Creighton from Mutual Trust Life, going to pour into us a little bit later. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So what is Debt Free Life? Debt Free Life is Symmetry Financial Group's proprietary program that uses infinite banking concepts in conjunction with what's called a debt snowball. No, not the debt snowball that a certain financial quote unquote guru talks about, because what he talks about is not a debt snowball. What he talks about is actually called a debt stack. And in the grand scheme of things, a debt stack is an efficient way to get rid of debt. However, the debt snowball is if you have five different debts, a debt stack is going to be the correct out of 740 possible combinations of how to get out of debt, whereas a debt snowball is the one best. So that means you've got a 1 in 740 chance to get it right with the debt stack. That being said, let's keep going. Debt-free life, debt-free life. So that's a play on words. We're using life insurance to get out of debt. Yep, it works. It works like a charm, and it's worked since 1904. Okay, so when we're looking at these programs, there's two main questions that we're really trying to ask ourselves. Are we 100% sure we're going to have a great retirement? Do we have some doubt? And also, if we could show you a way to get out of debt in less than 10 years, or as this one says, in 9 years, the reality is 15 to 27 years early is what I've seen. If we could show you a way to get out of debt in 15 to 27 years early without you spending any more than you're spending right now, then would you want to listen? And if you're here on this call, that's probably why you're here, because you want to listen. Great. Let's go ahead and look at it. If you're like most Americans, this represents you. About the average American only saves about 3% of their income for retirement. And if you think about it, Social Security is supposed to make up the difference. It's not gonna. Most people are banking on some kind of retirement system, whether it's a state or government retirement program or a self-directed like a 401k, IRA, or even a Roth. That's really not going to make up the difference. You need something else. Most people have a retirement system that's built really only two legs of retirement, and you need more. If you think of retirement as a stool and you think of a two-legged stool, you don't have a two-legged stool. They don't stand up. You need at least three. So what we try to do here with these programs is have these tax exempt retirement programs in the form of a life insurance policy become that third leg of your retirement stool, or maybe even a fourth leg if you've got some real estate holdings as well. Just diving in a little bit more into this slide, the average American spends 23% of their dollar on living. This is absolutely not the way our founding fathers wanted it to be. We are taught too easily to get into debt. We're given the we are given the opportunity in the form of easy to get loans to put ourselves into debt. I call it the debt noose. So basically, our creditors are handing us the debt noose and we're putting it on gleefully. It's wrong. In addition, we're paying a ton of taxes. That was never like this. That's, if you think about it, that's kind of the reason why this country was founded, was against the taxes that we were having to pay England. And nobody likes taxes. Nobody likes paying interest, but we're given the opportunity to do both. And how do we get out of it? Well, debt-free life is a tool, or an infinite bank as a tool to get you out of debt or to get you into a position where you're saving more for retirement. And that's really kind of the goal here. So if we consider most average Americans saving only 3%, and if we consider that the average American makes about $2 million in their lifetime, these numbers are real, and this is unfortunate, but the average American only has about $60,000 at the time of retirement saved. If you've got more than 60,000, great job. You've done well. If you've got less than 60,000, guess what? There's in this country, there's 180 million people that are in the same spot as you. So feel free. You're in company. You've got a lot of company. So what we try to do is try to change that around, not necessarily going out and getting another job, not going and becoming a Walmart greeter on the weekends. Not that there's anything wrong with Walmart. It's just we're trying to make it so you can do what you should be doing with the resources that you currently have, not going out and getting new streams of income. And we're not going to put you in a position where you have to stop eating whatever you want and you have to start eating tuna fish and ramen. I happen to love tuna fish and ramen, but that doesn't mean I don't want to eat it because I have to. I want to eat it because I want to. Right? I see you nodding, Adele. Right. So this is the traditional approach when people get close to retirement or realize that they've gotten themselves in over their head as far as debt is concerned. They'll reach out to debt consolidators, debt negotiators, and those folks are going to have what you see on your screen, these 6 bullets, as opportunities or options for you to help you eliminate your debt. The unfortunate thing is, of these 6 things that they're going to tell you, none of them work all the time. Some of them work some of the time, but none of them work all the time, with the exception of the debt snowball, if it's a true debt snowball. So let's dissect this a little bit. If you do you really want to go work harder so you can eliminate that debt? Most people, that's not an option. I want to spend time with my family. I want to read the book. I want to go on a vacation. I want to do those things. I want to live my life. Working harder is usually not in the cards for most people. Can I spend less? If I could spend less, I probably wouldn't be in debt. So maybe it's a spending issue. Maybe you need to learn, and that is something that you will learn. But if I could really spend less, most people live within their means or maybe just above it, which is why they get into debt. So spending less is prudent, but it's sometimes it's a lot easier said than done. Could I save more? Again, if I could save more money, wouldn't I be doing it? Okay. Now, if I happen to be saying I'm going into debt, but I'm saving $50 a month into a savings account, does that make sense? Refinance. Why would I take a bunch of smaller debts? Or, and this is also consolidation. Why would I take a bunch of smaller debts and make them one larger debt that's even more difficult to pay off? That's the consolidation route. Or why would I take the $10,000 of debts over here and make it $10,000 of debts over here? I did not eliminate the debt. I might have eliminated a little bit of interest, but I did not eliminate the debt. So refinancing is really, it's a Band-Aid. You've got a gushing wound and you're putting a Band-Aid on it. That's not the answer either. Again, the debt snowball, which will work as long as it's structured correctly and you follow the plan. How about we do it all the correct way? And here's what I mean. If we can move you from the left side of your screen to the right side of your screen, move you to the point. Notice I'm not saying going out and get another job. I'm not saying tighten your belt. I'm not saying changing your eating habits. I'm not saying do any debt consolidation. I'm not doing debt negotiation. I'm not refinancing anything. All I'd said was get you from the left side of your screen to the right side of your screen. Then we can change how much money you're spending on living. We can change how much money you're spending on retirement simply by eliminating a portion of the amount of money you're spending on taxes and a portion of the amount of money you're spending on interest for your debt service. If we do that, then we can get to that 15% mark. We're not making any more money than we're making before. That's not the game here. We're just trying to repurpose the way that you spend money so that we can have more going towards retirement and more going towards living. That's that lifestyle from 23% to 33%. We're going to increase the style of your living simply by doing this, by spending money a smarter way. This is what we'll teach you. What are we going to do? So we're going to redirect interest. So if you're going to pay, and you'll see this in a few minutes, but if you're going to pay for a $300,000 mortgage, you're not paying $300,000 for the mortgage. You're paying 400, 450, maybe even 500 once you add in the interest, the scheduled interest that you've got. We're going to repurpose that. We're going to eliminate some of the taxes you pay over time because we're going to create a tax exempt retirement income stream, not a taxable retirement income stream. Let's talk about that for a second. Anybody know what the tax rate's going to be when you retire? If anybody raises their hand, unless you're retiring this month or next year, you probably can't answer that question, or you shouldn't be able to, because nobody knows what the federal government's going to do with taxes. Does anybody think taxes are going to go down? You probably own a bridge that you'd like to sell as well. So the point is that taxes are going up. We just hit another benchmark, $36 trillion in debt. 25% of our GDP is now just going to pay debt service on what our country owes. 25%. We are not in a tenable position. Taxes have to go up. Spending has to go down. Spending, what does that mean? Social Security. They've already said that Social Security is going to be bankrupt. What are they going to do? How are they going to fix it? They're going to change the age at which you can start getting Social Security, and they're going to reduce the payments. They already said this, 22% reduction in 2034. Retirement age 67 or 70, starting in the 2030s. This is all what's going to happen. And they have to do it, folks. They've been spending money they shouldn't have been spending for a long time. This is the only choice they have. Improve cash flow. Let's talk about that. Okay. If I was making X amount of dollars and I never get another raise, but let's say 80% of my X number of dollars is going to pay debt service. If I eliminate that debt, eliminate that interest, eliminate some of that tax, and now I've got 70% of my money going to pay debt service, I just got a hell of a raise, right? I went from 20% of my money to be able to play with it to 30%. That's a 50% increase in spendable money, folks. That's what this program does. And then finally, tax favored income, right? These programs, if you structure them correctly and pull money from them correctly, it is tax exempt. And I don't know about you, I don't know of any tax favored program that's more tax favored than tax exempt. All right. So let's dissect this a little bit deeper. You've probably heard some other companies out there talking about things. They're talking about infinite banks, and I'm not going to advertise for them because what they're saying is not entirely correct. And unfortunately, if you're a layperson, you probably don't know what's correct and what's not correct. What I can say is most of those programs have an inherent reason why they fail. And the big reason why they fail is because they're not planning for the issue. They're not planning for the emergency. They're not, and I mean a real emergency, not a my best friend's going to go see this concert next month, or my best friend's got tickets to the Super Bowl if I want to go and I need to give him $5,000. Not that kind of emergency. I mean, my brother-in-law lost his job. My sister lost her job. There's no income for their family with 3 kids, and they're going to lose their house. That's the emergency I'm talking about. I'm going to step in, I'm going to pay off their mortgage. This program has an emergency fund built in. You can't see it, it's there. And it's basically about 20%. So the numbers that you can normally see, the cash value that you can normally see is representative of about 80% of the total value of your program. The 20% part is the stuff you can't see unless you have a real emergency and you sacrifice your program and get all the money out. And that's really where the rubber meets the road with this program. It's that Hail Mary, I got to do it. I don't have a choice. My debt-free life program, my whole infinite bank strategy, I'm going to have to cancel and start over again later because I got to bail my family member out. I got to whatever that real emergency is. All right, we talked a second ago about different types of tax-favored programs. We talked about what I said was the most advantageous of tax-favored programs, which would be tax-exempt. So what you see on your screen, these graphs represent different types of taxation on different types of retirement systems. So a taxed program, that would be saving money in a savings account, paying income tax on the money before you put it in your savings account, and then paying income tax on whatever that savings account is earning. That's a taxed program. The growth that you get is going to be really slow. The tax that you get is going to be maximal, and you're not going to have any other deductions to take because of the way you're investing it. Tax deferred. That's your traditional 401k. That's your traditional IRA. That's your KEO, your SEP, if you're a federal employee, your FERS account. If you're in Montana, your PERS account. That's what that represents. That's a tax deferred program, whether it's a tax deferred IRA or like a 457, a deferred compensation program. They both work basically the same way. I'm raising my hand and saying, I want to put money into my tax deferred account. I do not want to pay money or tax on it now because I'm going to pay tax on it later. We just talked about taxes, right? Does that make any sense anymore? If we know taxes are going up, does it make any sense to save some money now so I can pay even greater taxes on the money later when I pull it out? That's what people are doing with 401ks. And this is not me talking. This is Ted Brenna, the godfather of the 401k from Johnson and Johnson back in the 1970s. He was in a Bloomberg interview in 2022 October, and he said people are not using 401ks the way that he designed them. They're not being implemented by the government the way that he designed them. And there's been too much additional regulation and taxes applied to them since he designed them. And he recommends that people don't use 401ks. This is him, not me. He recommends people don't use 401ks and instead use what he coined as a 501k, which really doesn't exist. If you look it up in the tax code, a 501k is just a tax code that talks about how you can deduct childcare expenses. Has nothing to do with retirement. However, he went on to explain in that same interview, and by 501k, I mean an infinite bank, a cash value life insurance policy that you can use whenever you want for whatever you want without the government putting any restriction on when you touch the money and how you touch the money. Now, you can take money out of these programs and make it be taxed. The programs can be set up incorrectly. However, I would say when you're looking at these programs, we use participating whole life. There's a lot more evidence out there that the participating whole life programs are a better option than using the universal life options. And if you have any doubt, just simply Google universal life class action lawsuits and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Finally, the other type of tax advantage program, tax exempt. So normally this would be limited to essentially the Roth programs, whether it's a Roth IRA, individual retirement account, or a Roth IRA, individual retirement annuity. It's a program where the funding of the program is going to grow with interest based usually on stock market performance. And when you pull money from the program, there will be no tax on it. Well, guess what, folks? There's one more program out there, and you are in this presentation, and that's what this program is. This program is a tax advantaged program that if you pull money from it correctly, it is tax exempt. It is a cash value life insurance program, the same kind that Ted Brenner recommended. And it is from, there's different companies that offer them. There's different companies that are better for some people versus others. There's a clear winner for all business programs because businesses can use this too and take a tax code 162 exception. And then individuals can use this as well, which is why we're talking, and take a tax code 7702A. Use that tax code to your advantage. So in the grand scheme of things, if you look at the three different types of retirement programs using the same number of investment amount, $10,000, investing for the same period of time, 28 years, getting the same return, 7%. Good luck finding one that guarantees 7%. And having a 25% tax rate, good luck paying only 25% in 10 years if you're retiring in 10 years. That number is probably going to get closer to 30. That's what I'm looking at right now. In this example, it's hands down the tax-free program is better. There's no way it can't be. And that's why we really, here at Symmetry, we really focus on the debt-free life program as a tool, as a debt elimination and a tax-free retirement tool. Like all financial instruments, it works in phases. whether it's a 401k that you're funding and then you're funding more and then you're funding more as you're getting um, more advanced in your chosen field and you're earning more money so you can put more money into it. That's the maximization phase. This works the same way. Accumulation, that's when you've reached the pinnacle of how much you're going to contribute on an annual basis. Maybe you work for the federal government and you've reached the top of your salary level, the top salary for whatever your rate is, whatever your GS is. That's accumulation. That's when you've reached that phase. And then distribution for everybody is when you're retired and when you start taking money out of this. The really interesting thing about these programs, though, is that you can switch back and forth. You can switch from accumulation to distribution. And guess who decides when the distribution phase starts? It is you. It is not the IRS that says you can't touch your money until you're 62. It is not the IRS that says you can't touch your Roth until you're 59 and a half, as long as the money's been in there at least 5 years. It's you. You're the only person. So if you want to retire at 40, go for it. You can take money out of this program in a tax exempt manner at 40. Can you do that with your IRA? Can you do that with Social Security? Only if you're injured. Can you do that with your defined deferred compensation plan? Maybe, probably not. So, like all financial instruments, maximization, accumulation, distribution. This program, I think I prefaced this in the very beginning. This has been around for a long time, 1904. First one ever done was done by, that I can find, was John Rockefeller. There's a book about theirs out there that talks about some of this stuff. What would Rockefeller do? It references it in that book. And there's also a growth that his entire multi-generational family has seen that's because of the money, the money that he invested at that time back in the early 1900s that multiplied and compounded. Ray Kroc used this tool to open the first 11 McDonald's units. Doris Christopher used this tool to help her fund the creation of Pampered Chef. Walt Disney used this tool to fund Walt Disneyland and Walt Disney World. So finally, if you look at this, one of my economic heroes is Warren Buffett. And Buffett does this to this day. And I heard at one point he had 14 of these programs running currently. For me, I know a lot. I feel like I know a lot, but if I'm going to talk about finance stuff and Warren Buffett is going to say something, I'm going to listen. All right. In the end, what we're doing is we're just taking a life insurance policy that's been around for a long time, and we're using the IRS tax code 7702A to our benefit and deriving income from it, money from it, growth from it that's not taxable. So all those bullets that you see on your screen, these are all things that we're going to be able to do with an infinite bank, with a debt-free life bank. These are all the things that this system can provide for you. All you have to do is get the plan set up and follow it. One last thing about that. I've designed thousands of these programs over the years, and I can tell you that no single program of the numerous ones that we've done has ever ended up being exactly as we designed it. And that's because life happens. You may need to put a new transmission in your car. You may have that great piece of property that you've been waiting to come on the market that comes on the market. So instead of continuing with your debt elimination strategy, you liquidate the program, take all the money out and go pay cash for the property. Okay. As long as you use the money in the program for good use, and you are the only person who decides if it's good use, as long as do what you got to do. Okay. This is your money. You use it however you want. But when we design a program for debt elimination, the strategy that we create will work. It will work exactly as we say it will, as long as you follow it to the letter. If you deviate, most of the time people deviate because they think it's going to make the program work faster for them. I've only seen that happen one time. And it wasn't because the program worked any better. It's just because they're adding more money. So in the end, most of the time, any decision that you would make to deviate from the program as far as debt elimination is concerned, it's not going to help you. I had a client that did this one time and he said, you know what, we only owed $1,100 on that credit card. I just went ahead and paid it. So in that example, that $1,100 credit card had a $48 a month premium payment that because he just went ahead and paid it, he didn't pay it with the debt snowball. So that $48 did not come into the debt snowball. And in that example, he certainly paid that debt off early. He paid it off about a year earlier than the system had planned for. But it actually made his program take 6 months longer because that money that would have been coming in as part of the debt snowball that would have been compounding never actually got compounded. And so the way the system works is it's sometimes difficult for human beings to grasp. It took me months to get my head wrapped around it. And you're probably a little confused. Most people are. It's okay. It's part of the game. But I can tell you, if you get one of these programs set up, try to follow the plan. And if you have to deviate from the plan, talk to whoever puts you in the program first. Have them recalculate what it means if you deviate, and then you can make the decision. Yeah, I want to pay that $1,200 credit card off because I want to feel like I'm making traction. Even though I just set myself back 6 months, that might cause you to rethink that. All right. These are some of the early results we have of this program. This was back in 2018, and those numbers are dwarfed now. I can tell you the biggest program I've done so far eliminated about $1.4 million in 2.6 years. And that's just the nature of his funding capacity and what we were going to do with it. So this is it works for everybody. You do have to qualify for it. You have to qualify both by health, because this is a life insurance policy, and by finances. Because if you're in a situation where you can't make your debt service, if you can't pay the minimum payments on your debts, this isn't going to help you. Okay. So you have to make sure that you're making your debt service. All right. So if you're going to understand this program, you have to understand how you spend money. And this should be an aha moment for you if you've never seen this presentation. So the way you spend money is right now you make the money. Whatever you do for a living, cab driver, teacher, nurse, whatever you do for a living, eventually that money gets deposited into your checking account. And that money goes into your bank. Anybody know what they do with the money once it hits your bank account? If you said lent it out, you are 100% correct. Nearly 100% of the money that you put into your bank account gets lent out every night by that bank. That bank makes money based on the federal funds rate or higher. The average dollar you put into your bank account, whether it's a checking account, savings account, whatever, the average dollar you put into your bank account earns your bank 61 cents. Yep, 61 cents for every dollar you put in there. So if the bank makes money every night with the money that you put in your bank account, do they pay you anything? They don't. So your money is sitting in the account, and that bank is making money with your money every night. And they are happy that you've decided to use their bank. As a matter of fact, they may be so nice to you that they'll say, hey, look, since you're keeping at least $2,000 in our bank, we're going to let you keep it here for free. And we're not going to charge you a fee to keep this bank account open. Oh, and by the way, we're going to borrow your money every night, lend it out, make a ton of money with it, and we're not paying you anything. That's the part they usually forget to tell you. All right, so now your money's been in there for 7 days, which is the average length of time a dollar sits in a checking account before you actually use it. It's been sitting there for 7 days, and you say, all right, it's time to pay my debt. So you tell the bank to go ahead and pay the debt, and the bank sends your money to your creditor, and your money becomes their money. And I don't care how nice you are, I don't care how syrupy sweet you can be. If you ask with the nicest of intention to get your money back, it's not happening. They're not giving you your money back. It's not your money anymore. It's their money. So your money, so let me summarize. You made the money. earned the money, deposited in your bank account. Your bank made a bunch of money with your money, and then you paid a debt. Bank sent your money to that creditor, and then your money became their money. The only entity that won in this scenario is your bank, because your bank made money with your money without having any expense. That's called arbitrage, folks. They paid you zero and they made 61% with your money. That's a hell of a gain. And they do this every night. This is the way a debt-free life bank works. Same money, earn money, gets deposited into your checking account, same deal. But here's where the rubber meets the road. This is where it switches up. This is where we change the game. Instead of us leaving our money in the bank every night, we send a portion of it in the form of a life insurance payment. That's critical. Life insurance payment to a life insurance company. And we buy whole life, specifically participating whole life. Now, when that money leaves our bank account, the bank's no longer making money with it. When that money leaves our bank account to go to purchase life insurance, the IRS sees that I just purchased life insurance. Okay? When that money hits my life insurance company, it's actually split into three different parts. Some of it pays for the whole life portion. Some of it pays for a term life rider, and most of it goes to a paid up additions rider. Now, what is paid up additions? It's additional life insurance, paid up life insurance. What does that mean? That means I make a payment on it and it's paid up. I never have to make a premium payment again. That means it establishes a permanent death benefit. And finally, it means that depending on the company, they're recognizing that paid up addition purchase as cash. So this is where the rubber meets the road, folks. So you'll hear me, if you ever work with me or work with one of our broker underwriters, you'll hear them say the efficiency rate of the program. What that refers to is how much of the money you're spending is actually going into cash growth. It's buying death benefit, but it's going into cash growth. So typically these programs are somewhere between 60 and 70% efficient. The most efficient one I've ever been able to design is 94% efficient. And that's awesome. So anything really over 65 is a great deal. So now I've got this money. I just spent my $1,000. Instead of leaving it in the bank overnight, I sent it into my life insurance company. That company took 21% roughly and paid for my whole life policy. They took 11% to create a term life rider, and they put 70% roughly into my paid up additions. So I've got, of my $700 or my $1,000, 700 is now cash. It's also death benefit. And I've got this massive term policy. Remember, IRS, right? One of the things they're looking at is, what am I doing with the money? I'm buying life insurance. Okay, well, how much is the cash value of your program? $700. How much is the death benefit? 400,000, 500,000. Because of that term rider, it creates an umbrella of death benefit. So the IRS can't see what the cash value is. The IRS can't say, oh, you've got $300,000 cash in here, but you only got $200,000 of death benefit. That is not a life insurance policy. That's an endowment contract. We want to get paid. You owe us tax. That's what will happen. So when we put money into our life insurance policy, it's, from the IRS's perspective, it's purchasing life insurance. Now, instead of my bank making money with that money every night at $1,000, now I've got that money in my life insurance policy. It is now in what's called my infinite bank or my debt-free life bank, whatever you want to call it, and it's earning me money every night. All right. Well, but Scott, that $1,000 that I put into my life insurance policy, I still need to use $500 of that to pay my car payment. Okay, so you take a loan. Where's my $1,000? It's still in my infinite bank. Did I just receive $500 from the company? Yes. What am I doing with it? I'm taking that money and paying my car payment. What's happening next? Car company receives the money and they're happy. Do I still have my $1,000? Yes. Do I have $500 more equity in that car? Yes. What did I just do? I just increased my net wealth by the amount of money that I borrowed and paid for equity. Now you're probably asking yourself, but wait, you have a loan now. Yes, I do. And don't you have to pay it back? Yes, you do. How you pay it back is your choice. You can pay it back by writing a check. You can pay it back by just simply making payments on your program. Or don't forget, this is life insurance. It is insured. That loan is insured by your life insurance policy. When you pass, any debts that you owe against the policy are going to be paid back. And then the difference, whatever's left over, is going to be paid to your beneficiaries as a death benefit. So you got a loan, you take a loan. The only person who makes a decision of whether or not you can take the loan is you. You use the money. Now you have a loan against your life insurance policy. The only person who makes a decision about how to pay that back is you. You have control. This is an infinite bank and you're the banker. Pretty cool. All right. So what does it look like in real practice? Let's go here. Let's see if this works. It did not. So we're going to stop for just a second. And I just spoke with this family, by the way. I've been working with them since October 2019. And their program is working a lot faster than they had anticipated because they're overfunding it. So here's what this family looks like when we started. This is a family that the husband and the wife had both been married before, so they had some property that came with them. They had a bunch of loans, excuse me, a bunch of credit cards. The wife was a doctoral student at William and Mary at the time we did this, so she had a big student loan out there. The husband was an over-the-road trucker who had dreams of opening up a trucking business, not just with him as the only driver and the only rig. Incidentally, since this program started, they've eliminated almost all of this debt, and he's bought two more rigs, and he now has two other drivers working for him. So he got that business that he wanted. So this is where they were with the student loans. Student loans are evil, people, especially if you put them into deferment. The student loans, their personal property, the primary residence and their rental property, all that stuff. If they had stayed on the plan that they were on here, they would have been out of debt in 40 years. That would have made him 76 years old. And they would have had two properties that are fully paid up as income sources. They would have had Social Security, and they would have had whatever pension the wife would have received from going to work as a professor, because that was where she wanted to go. Okay, that's not bad. It's a decent retirement. You've got a couple income streams. You got two rental properties, and you've got Social Security and maybe another pension. That's not a bad deal. Okay. Now look, the program that we created, we didn't spend any more money than they were spending right now. When they look at this is what the real debt is. They had $182,000 of scheduled interest on this program. If they had the ability to write a check for $585,000, they could have gotten out of debt in one day, but they didn't. They'd financed everything. So that meant over time they were going to pay $767,000. This is actually not abnormal. And what I would have expected, now that I've done as many of these as I've done, I would have expected this person to have at least $250,000 of scheduled interest in what's going on today. But it is what it is. So 767,000. This is what the program did for them. Instead of being out of debt in 40 years, 40, they're out of debt in 7.8 years. Let that sink in for a second. 7.8 years. And if they were going to be funding a retirement program, we just freed up 32.2 years of additional retirement savings time. You guys got it? 32 more years. What can you do with 32 years, right? Not only that, we eliminated $70,000 of interest. That's pretty strong. Where'd that 70,000 go? Right into a retirement program. Couple of things I want to show you here. This property, one of their rental properties, was paid off in month 71. Their primary residence was paid off in month 93. There's 22 months in between that. Doing an advanced technique called a mortgage chunk, we were actually able to reduce that length of time down another 4 months. So it didn't take them 22, took them 18. So they're not out of debt in 7.8 years. They're out of debt in 7.4 years. Pretty strong. But here's the money. 40 years, $182,000 of scheduled interest. We saved them $70,000 of scheduled interest and got them out of debt in 7.8 years. What did that do? Without them going out and making any more money than they were making right now, without them spending any more money than they were spending right now, the only thing we did was change the way they spent and saved money. We gave them 32 years of additional retirement savings. This program generated for them, if all they did was invest in this program, which would have been great. If all they did was invest in this program and did not diversify at all, $4.8 million. In that same length of time to get out of debt, simply spending money a different way created $4.8 million of retirement. They still have their Social Security. They still have the pension that she's going to get from the Virginia retirement system. They still have equity in two properties and rental income. None of that changed. And they're not spending any more than they're spending right now, simply by changing the way that they spend. And that's it. So if you want a program like that, this is what it can do for you. It's not rocket science, it's just math. And that's the one thing I love about these programs. Math is the one language out there that doesn't lie. And that's it. So right now, see, we're at 6:20. Are you ready, Dr. Creighton?
Always.
So I wanted to welcome Mark Creighton. Mark, thanks for joining us again. Always a pleasure having you. And so what are you thinking? What's new in the world of infinite banking and participating whole life? What's going on?
Oh, there's a whole lot. Always listen, always come up with new points of view. Couple things that popped into my mind that you had said and advise you to listen to the wise Mr. Forehand.
Uh,
There there are there are a bunch of people who talk about infinite banking and the solutions. They all have YouTube pages. It's everybody can get behind a YouTube or a TikTok, and there's a bunch of things that are said that aren't factual. What you just witnessed, what you heard, was somebody who just sticks to the facts, doesn't oversell it. It's not rocket science. Although sometimes I've talked to an agent or two who thinks it is rocket science, and it, it it's complex but extremely straightforward and very simple, and it's a solution based on a product that's been around for 200 years. If a product can last 200 years, there must be something good about it. Whole life insurance is solid, predictable, the only product that's going to do exactly what it promises to do, as long as you do what you're supposed to, which is take care of it, mind it. Even then, it includes all kinds of flexibility that many people don't understand. Yeah, you talked about the emergency funds factor. How many different solutions, ideas, financial strategies have you guys come across, seen, and everything is predicated on the the stars aligning on a clear night, everything is perfect, and this is what it'll do for you. Well, the reality is the stars won't all align. It may perform, but not like they're showing it. When you take into consideration that these plans are designed where you're not going to overstress it based on guarantees, so guarantees have to happen. This is a life insurance contract, upholdable contract law. Like we have to do what we say we're going to do. So it's going to provide exactly what you think it's going to provide if you do your part, the premium part. But when you design a solution that's predicated on, hey, I'm not going to use every penny in the program because I'm going to leave some aside because life is going to happen. And when life happens, you've got freedoms. You've got freedoms of stress, you got freedoms of anxiety, you got freedoms of running to the credit card or to the bank to go, help me, help me. Now what does this do to me? You just go, I can handle this. Whether it's your own emergency, a family emergency, it's a beautiful thing. I'm going to take off my sales hat for a minute and put on my compliance department's hat. When we take a look at these solutions, we're a life insurance company. We have to know how people are using our products. We want them to be positioned in a way that's factual, accurate, correct, and possible. We've taken a look at this. It works. We support it. We love it. We do it. In fact, we love it so much, we're open to clients uh, potentially, should they have enough cash value to pay off that first debt 10 days after the policy is placed, go use it right away. So this isn't a what have you done for, or I guess no, this complies with the what have you done for me lately aspect of society, the instant gratification, where I need to know that this is working for me right away. It can. It may not be 10 days. We may have to wait a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to pay off that first debt, but we can start using it quickly. Immediately put death benefit in to protect the family, which is the greatest source of wealth creation in this country, i.e., Rockefellers that Scott mentioned earlier. Um, but it also secures that, hey, if something happens to me today, my family's going to be okay. They're going to miss me, but they're going to be okay, and that's the greatest gift I can give them. Um, last point, and then I'll stop to breathe. Um, Again, this is a safe asset. Last 2 points. Safe asset backed by a laddered bond portfolio. You're owner of the company. As a life insurance policy owner, as a whole life policy owner, you are owner of the company. What do owners of companies get to enjoy that Mr. Forehand hasn't even talked about, which is the cherry on the sprinkles that's on the whipped cream, that's on the ice cream, that's on the brownie? That cherry is called a dividend. Profits of the company are passed along to you. Thank you for supporting us. Here's your share of profits. Um, Lastly, what can the policy do for you? You're out of debt. Well, one, the greatest problem people have in their retirement picture is they can't afford it. They don't know how to pay for it. Again, what do? Work harder, make more money. Hey, boss, I want a raise. Yeah, you're not getting one. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that didn't work. Now what? Not everybody can benefit like that. If you can't give me the magic words. Um, but once you're out of debt, you've got more money. You haven't changed your lifestyle. You get to enjoy the things you still want to enjoy today, yet create a plan for your retirement. That plan is keeping more of your money. It's not how hard you work. It's how much money you keep and how hard it works for you. Um, so I'm out of debt. What did I get to do with my policies? I just invested in a rental property designed to provide me a recurring revenue stream at retirement. My conservatively speaking, those policy loans are going to be paid off. I don't need any of the rental income right now because I'm still working based on my schedule. I'm going to have that all paid off by the time I retire, and all of that is flat, pure income to me.
Love it.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, really. And you said a couple of things I want to dissect a little bit there. Talked about the dividend, and you accurately relayed that I hadn't spoken about the dividend. And you're right. It is the cherry on top. It's the sprinkle on top of the cherry, right? If we don't think about it, it's nice that we've got that piece coming. But if we don't think about it and it just shows up, what kind of a surprise is that? So I can tell you that my dividends in my program at this point are, well, they're four figures. They're mid four figures every year right now. And all I'm doing with my program is I'm writing a check to the IRS. But before I write that check, I'm writing a check to my Infinite Bank. I'm putting the money in my Infinite Bank first, making it grow forever, and then taking a loan against it and paying the IRS. And so I actually thank the IRS. Thank you, IRS, for making me invest in my future. I'm going to use your money to work for me for the rest of my life. And that's just another one of the uses of these programs. The other thing you mentioned was the speed at which you can take a loan. Folks, if you deposit $10,000 into your bank, how quickly are they going to give you access to it? $10,001, you're looking at a minimum 7 days for most banks. So if the concern with these programs is that I don't have immediate access to my funds, it's not going to be much different than what you've got in your regular checking account. You deposit a big check in your checking account, it's going to be some time. And even though I know Mark, for compliance reason and for company reasons, had to say things the way that he did, my experience with getting loans out of these programs is not 10 days. It's not 2 weeks. It's not 2 months. It's 5 days, 5 business days, as long as you plan it out correctly and communicate. Go ahead, Mark. Am I missing something there?
No, 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 no. I was saying my point about 10 days is after you start your program, 10 days later,
Yeah.
you can begin to utilize your cash. And upon the request, you're right. Right now, we're running 2 to 3 days on a loan. Yeah, it'll be deposited in your account. It's getting towards Christmas, so we're going to add a day or two. It's a
Yep.
busy time for us,
Yep.
but so it's 5 days.
Right.
It's quick.
All right. And then one last thing, I saw someone put a question in the chat about an IUL piece. There is a additional, usually restricted length of time that an IUL is going to show the cash value before you can actually touch it. And that's one of the reasons why I don't use IULs to fund these programs. It's because of the variableness or the variability of access to funds, and it's also because of the variability of growth. If it's a down market, and we're expecting a correction in the market, if it's a down market and you've got no growth in your IUL, then that's it. You might be able to take a loan based on what they allow you to touch, but it's not going to be as quick here. I've never seen an IUL loan money against the cash value of a program. Like if you start an IUL in the first year, you're probably not going to be able to take a loan. Here, you would be within a couple of days. So speed of access is important. Now, cons, it's not all roses, right? There are problems with par whole life programs. Some people call it a problem. Some people just call it reality. And that would be things like, okay, if I give you $10,000, can I get 20% growth per year? No, not really, not ever. So that might be in an investment strategy. That might be maybe, actually, I don't know any IULs that return that kind of number. That's not what we're doing here. And that this is a safe, conservative investment where we have a no loss guarantee and we've got longevity for our family. This is checking off a couple of boxes at one time. All right. I see your writing, Mark. Did I prompt something new in your head? And you are muted.
Um, in response to your con, the con is, yeah, you're right. You're not going to get a 20% return in a whole life policy ever. But consider I labeled this a safe asset class product. When you think of safe asset class products, what are they? They're bank, they're bank products,
Yep.
savings, checking, money market accounts, CDs. Um, what do they offer you? Liquidity, safety, that banks guarantee them, so you have some assurance that you're going to have that money. It's not going anywhere. You pay something for that, and that is lack of risk always means lack of return. Always. It is a fact in the investment financial world. More potential return means more risk. You can lose it all. So this is a safe asset class product. But why do it? Why whole life? Why is that where all almost all of my safe money is now. I've transitioned it out of the banks. I do have some liquid money. I got $10,000 sitting in a money market account. Why? If I need it today, I can go on the screen, transfer it into my checking account, and I can do what I need to do. I like having it that quickly. No more. I don't want any more than that. And I have 5 kids and now 5 grandkids, and they're expensive. So we
Congratulations,
like,
by the way.
thank you. Little Miss Harper was born yesterday.
There you go.
Um, uh, so being able to, put money in their hands that quickly is important. It's something my wife and I want to be able to do, so we do it. But leveraged. This is leveraged money. I have a death benefit. I have living benefits. I have the ability to use it and grow it. And hey, if I see an opportunity to get me a 20% return or a return that an investment property gets me, guess what I can do? I can choose to do it. Guess what I didn't have to do? I didn't have to go to a bank to explain to them why I wanted to buy a property, prove my value and worth to them, worthy of them letting me have an investment property. I just said, I want to do this. I'm doing it. I called Mutual Trust. I called my company and I said, "Hey, hook me up with a loan." They didn't ask me why. They didn't ask me what my repayment schedule is. I already put that in my mind. I already knew what it was. I worked it all out ahead of time, going, "Oh, this is a beautiful solution. This is great." So yeah, the con is this isn't going to get you a 20% return. But what's the return on saving 22% on that credit card? What's the external rates of return that you get by eliminating all of that interest? What's the external rate of return on using your money to go make more money? That's what you got to ask.
Right. Yep. And if there's a drop, you're completely insulated. So in the IUL, you wouldn't lose any money, but you wouldn't make any money. And in this program, you would still make money. So whenever there's a down year, rest assured, anybody that's in an infinite bank or any kind of participating whole life, they're still making money. So this is a very conservative investment tool. It's a debt elimination tool. And then I like there's some duplication opportunity sometimes if you're structured correctly, where you can have a portion of the cash value in one program earning interest in another place at the same time. And that's something that we try to do whenever we can. If there's no other questions, then I'm going to say have a happy Thanksgiving. And I hope you find what you're looking for and go out and help some families if you're a broker underwriter. And if you're here as a potential client, please reach out to whoever invited you and start asking them some questions and look at putting one of these in place for your family.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Happy
Scott.
Thanksgiving.
Happy
Thanksgiving,
Thanksgiving.
guys.
Thanksgiving. Yep.